Welcome to On My Way to Wealth, the podcast where busy Gen Xers can learn financial tips as they navigate life on their way to wealth. And now, please join your host, Luis Rosa.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to On My Way to Wealth, episode 001. I'm very excited to have you all here. My name is Luis, and I'm your host. Today, I have a very special guest for you. This man has worked over 10 years in service, sales, and parts in the automotive industry. He currently works in a major auto dealership in New York for a national luxury brand. He is the national award winner as a service advisor, has helped me out personally when I bought my last car. He was on the phone with me for quite some time, so thank you very much. And basically, he's the man. Not only is he a friend, also I consider him a brother. So without further ado, Eddie Egan.
Very kind words, Luis. Thank you for having me on today. I appreciate it.
Our pleasure. Thank you for taking the time. So, I just want to get right into it. I know this is not necessarily a cookie cutter approach. So normally people ask me, like, what are your thoughts? Should I finance or should I lease? And I know that there are different factors to consider. It's not one answer for everybody. But what are your thoughts as an expert in the automotive industry when someone is trying to decide whether they should be financing or leasing a vehicle?
There are benefits to both options. Like you said, it's really about your individual preference and your individual situation. You know, some of the main things to consider are how many miles are you driving a year? You know, most people, when you get a lease, you're going to get 10,000 miles, 12,000 miles, 15,000 miles on a lease. You know, and if you're somebody who's driving 30,000 miles a year, you get a 15,000 a year lease, all of a sudden you're 45,000 miles over, you know, at 20 cents a mile. That's going to put you in a bad financial position when that lease term comes to an end. That's the first thing I ask. Whenever somebody was interested in leasing a vehicle, I say, how many miles a year do you need? And, you also need to consider, all right, this is my situation right now. Is anything going to change? Are you looking for a new job where you may end up having to commute? You know, remember, the lease term is 3 years. So you have to have a good idea of what you're looking at in the next 3 years. When you lease a vehicle, 3 years later, you've spent, generally speaking, 11,000 to 18,000, depending upon what type of vehicle you've got. And at the end of 3 years, you have nothing to show for it. That's another negative with the lease. What's a positive, for you to lease a brand new vehicle, it's going to be a smaller monthly payment than for you to purchase a brand new vehicle.
Right.
So that's always a good thing. When you can spend $400 a month as opposed to $600, leasing a car, it can put you right in that range for the vehicle that you're interested in. With a lease, every 3 years, you also get to pick out a new vehicle. You're not sitting there with an old car, a car you're tired of. Every 3 years, you get to pick out something new, which is, a bonus to it. Also, in most cases, the entire length of your lease, the vehicle is going to be under the manufacturer warranty. Now, again, double check that with the manufacturer, depending upon how many miles you are using, because they do have special cases where you can get larger miles per year, but the average being between 10 and 15. And that'll keep you under the manufacturer warranty most of that time. Lastly, the main thing that you think about when it comes to being under the manufacturer warranty is the only thing you're going to have to worry about for the cost of the vehicle is the basic maintenance on it. And that's really nice. You buy a car, you've got a 5-year loan. If the manufacturer warranty runs out in 4.5 years in, you're still making those monthly payments. And now you've got a big expense because something failed on the vehicle. Something went wrong. Now you've got to make your monthly payment. And of course, an unexpected repair.
Right.
All in all, take a realistic look at your financial position, what you're going to use the vehicle for. I know when I bought my first car, I financed it for 5 years. I knew I was locked into a 5-year commitment, but I also knew at the time that I was going to own the car at that point. So I had to, guarantee an end game to it. After 5 years of having a car, I did want to change. I was tired of it. If I was to have leased the vehicle, I would have been on my second car with more money in my pocket. However, I've got another year of the lease on the second car. And at the end of it, I had nothing I would have had nothing to show for it. So it really depends on what you want and what you're looking for.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And back to what you were saying before about considering how many miles you're going to drive and everything, it also makes sense when you have a couple. It's very hard to have 2 car payments. Sometimes those 2 things add up to similar to somebody's rent. So I've seen people where, let's say husband and wife, for example, wife might lease a car because she works close to home. And maybe it's best that she doesn't have to worry about like maintenance and stuff. It's just like, all right, I have a brand new vehicle, takes me back and forth to work. And I've seen where, like, for example, the husband, if he happens to be more handy or whatever, he's okay with just financing a car. Once that financing runs out, maybe drive it for an extra 2 to 3 years. So they have a period of time between vehicles where they don't have two car payments simultaneously. So it helps save a lot of money. And I've done this myself. Aside from the car that I have now, I've held cars for as long as 9 years before. So 5-year financing, then go for 4 years without a payment. So it's pretty cool, but then you have to consider the maintenance aspect of it. And also depends on what kind of work you do. Some people, for example, real estate agents that are always showing up to people's houses and stuff, they might want to portray a certain level of success and things of that sort. So they might want to switch out their cars every 3 years, like you were saying. So it makes a lot of sense. So very personal decision to make, but I appreciate the tips that you're giving us. So since we're on that topic about financing versus leasing, what about, let's say I decide to buy a car. I see advertisements for certified pre-owned vehicles. How is that different from just like a regular used vehicle? What are the advantages of buying certified pre-owned versus a brand new? What do you say to that?
It's a little bit different when purchasing a certified pre-owned vehicle. Generally speaking, the vehicle has been checked over thoroughly by the manufacturer. There's a checklist that should be given to the client showing the items that were checked over, the measurements of the tires, the brakes, and they always add on additional time to the manufacturer's warranty. Keep in mind, one thing I do want to point out, because depending upon how this is worded to you, if you're buying the certified pre-owned vehicle, let's just say they tell you, hey, great news, now that you're buying the certified pre-owned vehicle, your powertrain warranty is 10 years, 100,000 miles. That is great news. But keep in mind, it is 10 years from the original purchase date, and it's 100,000 miles from zero. So if you're buying the car, it's 3 years old already, and it's got 40,000 miles on it, you really only have for your time 7 years and 70,000 miles. So it is nice to get the additional warranty, but again, make sure you know exactly what warranty that you are getting with it.
Let's say you went online, you saw this car you really love. Before you even went into the dealership, is there a way we can look up to see the original purchase of that vehicle so then you can know what's left on it?
A lot of Carfax reports will give you the exact purchase date. Worst case scenario, they at least limit it down to a year for you. But Carfax, there's a charge for that. For, if you decide to go on Carfax.com right now, type in a VIN number, they're going to want a fee from you. What's nice, if you go to the dealership, they've got an account set up, so they'll hand you Carfax on whatever car it is that you're interested in when it comes to certified pre-owned. So although it's nice to get the information before you walk in there, that's one of those things where if you want to keep $19.95 plus tax in your pocket, it's just as easy to call up the dealership and get that information.
Yeah, that makes sense. Especially if you're shopping around, you don't want to buy a Carfax report on 5 cars. That's $100 right there.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense.
If you're going to go used, I definitely recommend that you go certified pre-owned. The benefit to picking up a certified pre-owned car over a new car is you're generally going to get a car that's in good condition, and it's going to be significantly discounted from what a brand new car will cost you. So once again, they both have benefits. I love the idea of having a new car. I don't have to worry about anything being wrong with it. Nobody else has driven it. But on that same note, I like having money in my pocket. So I also like the idea of buying a car, for 40% less than it was when it was brand new with, 3 years and 30,000 miles on it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. A lot of people look at cars as an investment. And I always tell people, well, think about it this way. Let's say I'm a financial advisor and I tell you, hey, I got a perfect investment for you. You're going to give an initial amount of money down. The investment is going to lose value the very next day that you put money in it. You're going to continue to add money to it every single month for about 3 to 5 years, depending on your preference. And when you sell it, it's going to be worth less than you put into it. How does that sound?
Does not sound like a good investment to me.
Does not sound like a good investment. And then when I say, look, well, that's what a new car is. And I'm not saying not to ever buy a new car, but I just point that out to say, look, a car for the most part is not going to be an investment. So in my case, like I've done certified pre-owned, as you know, you helped me out a lot with mine. And most of the time, like if you time it right, the car that you buy, it might be 2-3 years old. It might still look like the brand new model because models sometimes change every couple of years, right?
Correct. 4 or 5.
4 or 5, right? So let's say somebody bought a car in 2016. They drove it for 3 years on a lease, turned it back in. You go in and sweep it up at a nice lower cost because the car's 3 years old, but it's still under manufacturer warranty. And it still looks like the 2019 model. So from the outside perspective, nobody knows you. Yeah, you might have 31,000 miles on it, 40,000 miles on it, but that's still very good, especially considering the fact that it's still under warranty. So something to consider for those of you that are thinking about buying a new car.
Exactly. With the extra miles on the car that you buy, it's extra thousands in your pocket when you buy it too.
I like that. And speaking of new cars then, so let's say you are buying a new car or a certified pre-owned and you're considering taking your existing vehicle and trading it in. I know some people talk about trading it in. Some people think about, hey, you're better off just selling it to a private party. So what are your thoughts on that in terms of the benefits or not of either or just selling it on your own or trading it into a dealer?
Now, that's a great question. And this is something that everybody should consider, look at what they've got. Now, keep in mind, buying and selling cars is a business. Every business is there to make money, not lose money. No matter where you go, who you deal with, everyone in every dealership wants the best number in their favor. Whether it be the customer walking in the door wants to buy the car for the lowest price and get the highest, for their trade-in. And honestly, every dealership, they want to sell the car for the most that they can and give as little for the trade-in as possible.
Right.
Now, there's a middle ground for everybody, and that's why these businesses stay alive. But, something to keep in mind. A dealership does have employees, it has overhead, it has operating costs that are factored into every transaction that's done. With that in mind, generally speaking, you will get less money when you trade your vehicle in a dealership than if you take the time and sell it on your own privately. With that being said, however, selling your car on your own can be more of a hassle than it's worth. Keeping in mind that time is money, how many people do you want to meet with before you find the one who's willing to pay your asking price for the car? Keep in mind, most people don't want to buy a car without driving it. So how many strangers do you want to let drive your vehicle under your insurance so that they can look it over and see if they want to buy it?
That's a good point.
I mean, God forbid one of these strangers tries to drive off with your car, or even worse, while going for the test drive. It's a rarity, but it's something to consider. Some people pay to advertise the sale of their vehicle when they're trying to sell it privately. Now you've got time, you've got literally money out of pocket. And the last thing that many people don't know when it comes to trading it in to give a little bit of a benefit to the dealership.
Yeah.
Let's say you're buying a $30,000 vehicle and the dealership's offering you $10,000 for your car. You're only going to get taxed on $20,000 of the purchase as opposed to $30,000 of the purchase. So now, the difference in tax, depending upon your tax rate on where you are, a $10,000 difference in my area where it's 8.125%, I believe we would be at
$12.50. Yeah.
$12.50. So now if I got that offer of $10,000 and then I went and I sold it privately for $10,500, I'm feeling great. Oh, I got another $500 in my pocket. But when you consider the tax rate, I actually lost $312.50.
Wow.
It breaks my heart when I see somebody get an offer from a dealership and then they go sell it privately for that exact same amount, to a cousin, a family member, a friend, that are matching that because they are losing that tax break every time. Do your research. Go on to kbb.com. See what you should expect from a dealership. See what you should expect from a private party. Depending upon that difference, look at that and consider, what it's going to take for you to sell that car privately. Is it worth the $2,000 difference that they're showing? Is it worth the $1,000 difference that they're showing? Do your research ahead of time. Consider, your time, your money, and make the best bet for yourself.
Yeah, that's a great point.
The only time I really push people to try and sell a car on their own is when they've got a much older car. The car's 10, 12 years old. It's got 175 miles. 99% of the time, a dealership's not going to try and resell it. There's too much risk when you sell a car that old, that many miles, that something large is going to go wrong, and then the dealership is going to have to pay out of pocket to have that fixed. Often in a case like that, they're going to give you, just a $500 flat fee. They're going to send it to the wholesaler and sell it without any kind of concern. Where, I've seen plenty of cars that are 10, 12 years old, 175,000 miles, where you can get $3,000, $4,000 for it if you sell it private. So that's the one time where I might nudge somebody and say, hey, it might be worth at least exploring it for a little while.
Gotcha.
We'll give you the 500, in 2 weeks when you come back, but it might be in your best benefit to put a little effort into it to sell it for yourself, and you might be able to come.
Yeah, at that point, it might make sense to go through the hassle of letting strangers in your car. I have a question since you're, talking about tradings and stuff, because I've never had to sell a car that I still owed money on. So let's say I do have, a 3-year-old car that I finance and I haven't paid it off. I still got 2 years left on it. And now I'm like, hey, I want to trade this thing in. I want to just get a different car. So if you're selling a car that you still owe money to, can you sell that on the private side? Or do you need to prepay it all to zero and then sell it? Basically, like you need a clean title. And also, how does it work if you come to the dealership with a balance on your existing car that you traded in?
Well, under those circumstances, it's a heck of a lot easier to take it to a dealership because they can simply factor in what they're going to give you for your car and what you have left, whether it be a couple dollars in your favor or a couple dollars that need to be rolled into your new finance. They can take care of all of that for you. When you're selling it privately to a stranger, it is going to be very difficult because you don't have a clean title. You have a title with a lien on it. So now business with friends is always a a sketchy area as well. But if
Right.
it's a family member, somebody that you're close with, and you can show them, hey, this is what I owe. You're going to give me 10 grand. I'm going to pay it off. I'll have the new title here. It says right here within 4 weeks, and then I can give you the title. That takes a certain amount of trust because you hand me 10 grand. I don't pay off this car. All of a sudden down the road, somebody's going to be coming after that vehicle because this loan was never paid off. The car gets towed away from your home. You're out 10 grand and you're out of car. So when it comes to that, like I said, if you don't trust the person that you're dealing with, matter of fact, if you're the one selling the car, if the person that you're dealing with doesn't trust you, it's just not going to happen. And like I said, that can cause some issues. So if you still have a balance, I will definitely tell you to take it into the dealership.
Gotcha.
It's going to
Okay.
make everyone's life much, much easier.
That makes sense. Yeah, it's not all about money. You got to consider time and trust and hassle. Absolutely. Wow. I'm learning a ton of stuff right here, right now myself, man. So I hope you guys are enjoying it. So let's say you decide to finance a vehicle. I know that dealerships offer financing once you've finalized the sale with the salesperson, then you move on to the finance office. And you also have the option of getting your own financing with your own lending institution, credit unions, whatever it might be. So, what are your thoughts on financing with the dealership versus your own lender? Should you do it prior to you go to the dealer? What would be the benefit, for example, of going with the dealer versus doing your own?
Well, it does make sense that a financial advisor would ask this question about financing.
I would hate myself if I didn't.
Yeah. Well, it actually, it's a very important thing to look into. It's a lesson I learned after my first car purchase. The dealership definitely made a couple extra bucks for me with the way I financed the vehicle. A dealership can bump a loan rate. And what I mean by that is, let's just say you go to the dealership, like you said, you set up everything with the salesman, you come to a good number, you go into the finance office, and they're going to run your credit. They're going to see what kind of rates they can get you approved at. They may call up Chase Bank, any bank. We can get Louis Rosa approved at 3%. Finance manager comes up to you and says, hey, Louis, I got some great news. I can get you financed at 4.5%. Now, you don't know the conversation you had with the bank. Now, all of a sudden, you're buying a $30,000 car. You finance it for 5 years, Louis. What's the difference from paying 3% to paying 4.5%?
So let's say 5 years, $30,000 finance is going to be at least $20 a month. So times 60 months, it's a little bit over $1,200 extra.
So $1,200 is, let's just say, could be the value or the loss if you finance through a dealership. Could, not always. Sometimes a dealership has a special financing rate, 0.9%, 1.9%. If you can borrow money for 0.9%, borrow the money for 0.9%, you're not going to get a better rate anywhere else. So special financing, I'm definitely taking advantage of them going through the dealer. What I like to do now is I go to my own bank. I find out what rate they'll give me. Let's just say that they'll give me a 3% rate. I'll check out a couple other banks. Best rate I can find is 3%. I'm going to keep that information to myself. I'm going to go to the dealership. I'm going to work out everything with the salesman. Then I'm going to go into the finance office and I'm going to let them do the legwork. I'm going to let them find out because sometimes he may come to you and say, hey, great news. I got you approved at 2.5%. So obviously he was able to get a better rate than I was. I'm thrilled. I'll take their rate instead of mine.
Right.
But if he comes back out to me and he says, hey, Eddie, great news. I can get you approved at 4.5%. You can do one of two things at that point. You can turn to him and let him know, well, listen, I can get my own financing at 3%. Don't tell them up front. Wait until they give you a number.
Gotcha.
I can get my own financing at 3%. If you can match that, great. I'll go through you. If you can't, then I'll go get a check and I'll come back tomorrow with a certified check.
Got it.
So definitely something where if there's not a special financing offered on the vehicle, I would, without a doubt, go to my own bank and find out what you are really worth, what rate you can really get. This way you don't end up paying an extra $1,200.
Gotcha. Oh, that's awesome. Excellent advice. So, speaking of incentives for, special rates and stuff, is there a better day of the month that one person should go into a dealership to purchase a car or lease a car?
Yeah, there's definitely, I don't want to give away all my secrets of the trade. But,
We got to keep you in business too, huh?
But I will tell you, when I'm looking to buy a new car, I'm going at the end of the month. That's always going to be your best bet. Dealerships look at the numbers for each month and for each year, generally speaking. Some will get tedious and look at weekly, but generally speaking, it's what did you do this month? What did you do this month? What did you do this month? Commissions and bonuses are only paid out on a monthly basis. Also, dealerships have something called market share concerns, making sure that they're selling the amount of cars that they should for their area compared to their competitive dealerships and competitive manufacturers in the area.
Got it.
These are all things that when there's 20 days left to the month, you walk in there on September 10th, they've got 20 more days. So, if they're looking good, they assume that they're going to have a good month. If they're looking bad, they still say to themselves, we've got 20 more days to go. Why am I going to go to my lowest possible price when I still have a lot of time to make up this money, make up these cars, these units that we need to get out? So what I'd like to do is I go in the last week of the month. I like to sit down, have my negotiations with the salesman once I pick out a car that I like. And no matter what, leave. I'm going to get up and I'm going to walk out. I'm going to ask for a price that's probably out of the range, something that they probably won't agree to.
Okay, like a low ball.
Yep, we're going to go back and forth a little bit, and I'll get an idea of what they're willing to do. And I'm going to walk out and I'm going to say, listen, whatever the number is, let's just say that it comes down, they say 30 grand for the car. I say, hey, listen, give me a call if you can do the 25,000. I'm going to get up, I'm going to walk out the door. If by the last day of the month they have not called you, I'm walking back into the dealership. At this point in time, I feel as confident as I can that they really cannot sell the car. It's just financially unwise for them to sell me the car at the price that I was willing to agree to of $25,000.
Right.
So then I'm going to walk in there on the last day of the month. I'm going to see my salesman, say, listen, I really want this car. You never called me, so I guess 25,000 can't be done. I can go up to 26,000. He's going to talk to his boss. He comes back to you. Eddie, we can't do 26,000. I can go as low as 27.5. I'll sign right now if you can do 27 flat. I can't. 27.5 is my best. On the last day of the month, when they know that the more units they sell, the manufacturer incentives that they can get, the bonus that this particular salesman wants, he might be hitting his 13th unit to get, some back end money. They're going to give you the best they possibly can on the last day of the month. So with that being said, if he comes back and he says, sorry, Eddie, 27.5 is as low as we can possibly go. At that point in time, I know this month I'm at least getting 99% of the time, I know I'm getting the best number I possibly can. So now it's up to me. Is this car worth 27.5 to me? If so, I'm pulling the trigger because I know I've worked out my best deal. If it's not worth 27.5 to me, then walk out the door and time to pick a different car. Just leave them with the, hey, call me if it gets to this number and I'll pull it off.
Gotcha. And I see you mentioned this month, you said specifically, so that can change from month to month, I take it.
Completely. And this is something that everybody should know, just to prevent themselves from ever getting upset. I've had clients come down to my service department at this point in time and say, I'm really disappointed with your sales department. I bought the same car as my neighbor, but they charged me $1,500 more than my neighbor. He bought it 3 months before me. And I tried to explain it, but nobody really wants to hear it. Every month, the first of the month, dealerships get incentives from the manufacturer. So this month of September, the dealership might be giving back, $2,000 on the sedan that you want. The manufacturer is giving that dealership that incentive. Now, 2 months down the road, they might be giving a $4,000 incentive. So, for instance, let's just say on the month where they gave a $2,000 incentive, you got the car for $30,000 flat. The month that they had the $4,000 incentive, I got the car for $29,000 flat.
Right.
Although I paid less, and that's what really counts, you actually worked out a better deal because they had $2,000 more that they could easily give me my way, where I should have paid $28,000 to your $30,000 if we had the exact same negotiation, but I paid $29,000. So, although again, that's the bottom line. If I come to you and I say, "Hey, I paid $29,000," you're going to be upset because you paid $1,000 more than me. But what you don't know, and what you're never going to know, unfortunately, as a consumer, is in this case, you actually got a better deal. The dealership made less money from you than they did from me, even though you paid $1,000 more.
Ain't that something?
So when you talk to somebody who bought the same car as you, but they didn't buy it in the same month, you can't compare pricing because you are literally comparing apples to oranges.
Gotcha. That's good to know. All right. So let's say I saw the car I wanted. I went in a few days before the end of the month, came back. They gave me the price I wanted. We're ready to sit down, make a deal. So now, aside from any money that I'm going to put down, any down payment money. What are some of the typical fees? I know things might vary from state to state, right? Sales taxes and things like that. So what are some of the typical fees that one can expect in addition to the cost of the car and your down payment?
There's not much to consider there, at least in my area. Like you said, it can be different from state to state. I am New York, New Jersey specific. So outside of here, there might be more or less to consider. But taxes, tags, and destination fees are your general three. The items that mostly not included with the purchase of a lease or finance of a vehicle. In my area, the tax rate is 8.125%. That's a large number on $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. It adds up quick. Tags, which are the cost to register the vehicle. You can transfer the plates that you're taking off of your old car if you're trading it in.
Does that save you money?
If you transfer plates, it definitely saves you money. It's less expensive. So if you're trading in a car and you've got, obviously, there were license plates on it before, if you transfer them, you're going to save about $150 to $200 than it would cost you to get brand new plates.
Got it.
Now, that being said, I might be trading in my car, but if my plates are all raggedy looking because I've owned the car for 5-10 years, I might just spend a couple extra bucks to have a nice new set of license plates on my nice new car.
I gotcha. Never thought about it that way.
That I did. You don't want to put an ugly set of license plates on your brand new car. At least I don't. If you're spending $40 grand on a new car, and then these license plates make it look like it's much older than it is. But that's really it. Figure out what the tax is going to be, whatever the purchasing price is, because that is going to be the larger number, to register the vehicle and to either get new plates or transfer the plates. We're looking $150 to $400 on the high side.
Got it. Okay. Any other fees from the dealer themselves? Like I see sometimes maybe document preparation or car delivery fee or some crap like that.
I mean, every dealership is different. I'm happy to say that the places where I've sold cars, besides the taxes, title, destination fee, and registration, they didn't add on those paperwork fees, the docking car, preparation for it. They clean the car. They take all the protective mats off, stuff like that. It's all built into their transaction cost. Although, as a consumer, you may want to see every little thing that you're paying for. I feel like when that's broken down like that and you start nickel and diming people, I'd much rather just say, on this car, I will bring the sticker price down $5,000 and keep everything included. Then, hey, I'll bring it down $5,400, but now I'm going to show you all these stupid little add-ons that just make it look like, come on, I'm buying a $40,000 car. You're going to charge me $80 to take the protective wrap off.
Right.
Now, don't get me wrong. These people need to get paid. There is a job being done. But at that point, personally, I don't want to see it. I'm glad the places that I've sold vehicles at, they have not broken it down like that. Taxes, tags, destination fee.
Agreed. Yeah, it's like the cell phone bill. You see like all these 20 different taxes. Like, I don't need to see that. Just how much is it per line, whatever. I get it. All right. So let's say, you already sat down. You got your deal. Happy with your car. Now you speaking to the finance person. At this point is where the topic of warranties usually comes up, right?
Correct.
So what are like some of the more, I know there's tons of them out there, but like some of the most common types of warranties? And usually, like if you can tell us just a little bit about what they cover.
Sure. When you buy a new car, the new car comes with what's considered to be a bumper-to-bumper warranty. Your Hondas, Toyotas, things of that nature, you're normally going to see a 3-year, 36,000-mile manufacturer warranty for the bumper-to-bumper. Your luxury brands, you're normally going to see a 4-year, 50,000-mile bumper-to-bumper warranty. What that means, generally speaking, is that if anything fails on the vehicle due to a defect, not outside damage, but a defect, the dealership will repair that problem at no charge to you. Also, these new cars, they come with a powertrain warranty, which literally covers components such as the engine, the transmission. That warranty is normally a little bit longer. Your Hondas and Toyotas, you're normally going to see a 5-year, 60,000-mile powertrain when you buy it. On the Acuras, Mercedes, you're normally going to see a 6-year, 70,000-mile powertrain warranty. That's just what comes with the car. When you're in that finance box, oftentimes they offer you what's called an extended warranty. Now, these warranties, even though you're at the dealership can sell you an extended warranty through the manufacturer, but they can also be selling you a extended warranty from an outside warranty company.
Third-party provider.
Well said. You've got it. Now, as a general rule, I prefer the manufacturer-specific warranty. There's generally a lot more things covered, and you're not going to have the hassle of, this warranty that you bought, they cover $100 per hour, but not your dealership's $120 per hour labor rate. So now if I need a 5-hour repair, I've got this warranty I paid $2,000-$3,000 for, but I still need to come out of pocket for $100 because they only cover $100 per hour, and my dealership charges $120.
Oh, interesting.
With a manufacturer warranty, you go to the manufacturer dealership, they're going to pay that labor rate no matter what it is. So that's a big thing. Either way, when you're purchasing an extended warranty, my best response to everybody is read, read, read. It may be time consuming, but knowing exactly what you are buying makes all the difference in the world. Unfortunately, it's sad, but I've had many people come to my dealership. They come in with a problem with their vehicle. I'm hearing a clunk or I have a check engine light on. All right, sir, not a problem. I'll get that checked out for you. This is the diagnostic fee for it. He says, I bought an extended warranty. It cost me $3,000. They're going to cover everything.
Right.
Okay. Well, and because I have to do my due diligence. All right, sir. Well, I need you to authorize the diagnostic fee. Once we get it checked out, I'll call your warranty company. They may cover the component that's failed. They may or may not cover the diagnostic. These are all things I need to check on. And again, this is with a third-party warranty. If it's a manufacturer's warranty, I don't need to go through that line at all because I know that they're going to pay for it.
Gotcha.
So, and too often I come back to this person. I call their warranty company. They came in for one problem. I found the car had a second problem. I call their warranty company. Neither of these concerns are covered.
Oh, man.
I feel bad for the client because now he's paid $3,000 for a warranty that's not covering his issues. And now he's got, another bill from me to get these things repaired, whether it be $500 or, $2,500 to get the car fixed the way it is.
Right.
So when you're buying a warranty, read. If it's manufacturer, you're probably going to be fine. If it's a third party, I would not sign a thing until I've read that cover to cover. Know what you're paying for. $3,000, $2,000 for these warranties. They're expensive. They are. And when you buy a good one and you need to take advantage of it, it's worth its weight in gold. I've had many people who've bought warranties from my dealership when they bought the vehicle. They've had to come down, get some huge repairs done, a power steering rack on most of these cars. You're looking well above $2,000. If a timing belt tensioner fails on you, you're looking at $1,000 right there. Shocks, window stops working, whatever the case might be. If you've got a good warranty and you end up using it, it is worth its weight in gold. But a lot of those third-party warranties that I've come across are not good. So read.
Gotcha.
You might even save some money with some of these third-party warranties. And I don't want to knock them all because I've also seen quite a few good ones walk in the door. But I'd say for every third-party warranty that comes in my door, I'd say 2 to 3 out of 10 cover what the customer expects that it's covering, is actually worth the payment that they made to buy this warranty. More than not, I'd say roughly 7 out of 10 of these third-party warranties, they end up being a big disappointment to the client.
Gotcha. And then how much time do you usually have from the initial purchase of a vehicle? Like, do you have to decide the same day that you bought the car to buy one of these warranties? Or is there like a grace period?
Well, third-party warranties, you can pretty much buy them at any point in time. A new car manufacturer warranty, you have 30 days from purchase to decide that you want to buy that manufacturer's warranty on a brand new car.
Okay, that's not bad. Yeah, so because I know sometimes people feel like, especially if their process with the sales department was exhaustive, by the time they get to the finance, and now it's like, they're just trying to sell me even more stuff, and you're just like done. You've been there 4 hours. The sun went down.
Well, I'll give you 2 other tips that I probably shouldn't, but I'm going to give them to you anyway. You buy a new car, you can shop that manufacturer's warranty. Let's just say you bought a Toyota. Like you said, you're tired. They offer, hey, you can extend your bumper-to-bumper warranty to 7 years, 100,000 miles instead of the 336 that you have for $2,500. One repair might cost you $2,500. It sounds great. All right, let me think about it. I got 30 days. One of my buddies told me this. He went home. He called, I think 3 different states, Toyota dealerships from 3 different states. And I believe he actually bought a manufacturer's warranty, if I remember correctly, from the state of Louisiana for a third of what the manufacturer warranty, the same exact warranty, would have cost him buying it from his dealership in New York.
Wow.
So you can shop your warranty offer as well. Keep that in mind.
Interesting. Did not know that.
Yeah, I like that one a lot.
Got it. What about warranties and like tires and things of that sort?
That was the second point that I had actually forgot. So great question. Whenever I buy a new car, most of these places do offer a tire and wheel protection package. Sometimes it's grouped in with like paintless dent repair, but the tire and wheel warranty that I've seen, the price of it is normally somewhere between $500 to $800. Most of the new cars today, if one of your tires, you hit a pothole, it pops the tire, that's going to be half of it. You get a second tire, contract is paid for itself in a matter of 2 tires.
Okay.
I got it with my last car. I've already gone through 2 tires. The contract is paid for itself. Now I see that I've got a ding on my driver's side door, so there's no paint missing. So I'm going to call them up. I'm going to get that covered as well. And to fix the dent, it might be $125, $150, but I'm literally going to get more from the warranty than the warranty costs me.
Okay, so your bumper to bumper does not include your tires.
Correct. Tires, brakes, your changing of your major fluids, things like that are considered maintenance on a vehicle. They're going to wear down. Manufacturer's defect is such as, your driver's side window, all of a sudden one day it just won't roll down. Something's wrong with it. Now, if we get in there and I see that a mouse got in there and chewed the wire, it's not covered under warranty because the manufacturer, it wasn't a defect.
Got it.
If I get in there and I just, for some reason there's no power, the switch went bad, great. I'm going to order you a new switch. I'm going to install it. It's not going to cost you a penny under that manufacturer's warranty. Outside of that, the one recommendation I have for everybody, and I hate when I see it, is your tires are the only thing that touch the ground. I would not ever cheap out or wait to take care of your tires, whether it's raining, it's snowing, there's sand on the road when you live out in the desert. The tires are the only thing that touch the road. And if you don't have safe tires, you don't have a safe vehicle, no matter who you are.
Good to know. Awesome. And speaking of warranties, I remember last time I purchased a vehicle, the topic of gap insurance came up. And that was another thing that was being offered to me. So I want, if you can tell our audience what gap insurance is and why it's important to have it.
Certainly. Gap insurance is a big deal. Let's just say you lease a vehicle. You get home, you park your car under the big willow tree in your driveway. You get some bad weather. The next day, you come out to your car and you see that the tree fell on your car. Now your car is totaled.
Right.
The dealership, they're still expecting their 36 months for that lease. If you don't have gap insurance, you still owe the 36-month payments for that lease. What gap insurance will do for you is they protect you from something like this, where if your car gets totaled and it's a complete loss, so that you don't end up losing out on, you don't have to make these payments. They're going to cover the payments for you. If you were to finance a vehicle, same thing. You own it for a year, you financed it for 5 years, a tree comes down and the car's totaled. Your insurance company is going to give you $20,000, but you still have a $25,000 payoff on this lease. If you have gap insurance, they're going to cover that additional $5,000.
Okay, got it. Wow. So that can save you quite a bit of money. So the same would apply then, for example, if your car gets stolen and it was worth $25,000, but you still owe 30. Same concept there?
Same concept there. Absolutely.
Okay, got it.
And with that in mind, I would never lease a vehicle that does not either come with gap insurance or, call my insurance company and get the gap insurance added on. And with the idea of gap insurance, there's a reason I'll never put a penny down on a lease either. Because let's just say same scenario, you leased a car today, you go home, you park under the willow tree, bad weather comes, next morning, tree's on your car and it's totaled. Well, if I put $2,000 down on that lease, the gap insurance is going to give me my $2,000 back. That money's gone. I wanted a lower monthly payment. So I'd rather just keep that $2,000 in my pocket. I know I've got that gap insurance. And if anything goes bad, well, I'm not out $2,000. I'm not out $3,000 that I put down.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So something good to know. And so let me step back here a little bit. You mentioned that you can get gap insurance through your own insurance carrier. It's not something you necessarily need to purchase from the dealer?
That is correct. I've yet to come across an insurance company that did not offer it. But keep in mind, Some leases, they come with gap insurance automatically as part of the lease as well. So in some cases they don't, and it is something that you have to purchase. See what the dealership offers you for their gap insurance rate, but definitely call your insurance company as well and shop it, because you might be able to get a better price on your own, just like your financing.
Got it. Wow, so many things, huh, besides just buying the car. Amazing. And Eddie, let's say for some people that are returning a lease, they're not trading it in. They're just like, all right, lease is up. I'm just gonna either buy a new car or I just don't need it anymore, etc. What are some tips that we should know? Let's say for somebody who bought a car 36 months ago, it's time to give it back because you usually have to inspect that car, I would imagine. Uh, right?
Correct. Generally, the manufacturer will reach out to you, a couple months before the lease is up, so that they can do their first inspection of the vehicle. It's good because it also, if they come across a concern, it gives you time to figure out what your best course of action is. Now, I'm generally speaking, you get a lease. The manufacturer gives you a $1,500 allowance. They know you're going to drive the car for 3 years, 36,000. They know that there's going to be certain wear and tear that they're going to see on the vehicle. Now, let's just say they come for their first inspection and they see that your bumper, you backed into a post outside your driveway and the bumper's cracked. That if it's more than 500 on any one panel, that gets excluded from the $1,500 overall allowance. So, and I hope I'm explaining this well. So let's just say they say, hey, this bumper, this is not going to be a covered component. We're going to charge you $1,000 because of the condition of this bumper.
Wow.
That stinks. But at that point in time, I'm going to go stop at a body shop, see how much it's going to cost them to get this bumper right. If the body shop tells you, oh, I can get this fixed for $500, well, you've got the 2 months before you have to turn in the lease, get the bumper fixed. This way, you're not getting charged $1,000 when you return it. If we're looking at a larger repair, hey, this door is, smashed in, a car hit you and ran. You didn't get it fixed. They tell you, we're going to charge you $3,000 for this. You go to a body shop. The body shop says, yeah, we're going to charge you $3,000 to fix this. At that point in time, you may want to just call your insurance company, pay your $500 or $1,000 deductible, and get it repaired. This way, you're only out of pocket $5,000 or $1,000, as opposed to the $3,000 that the body shop or the manufacturer is going to charge you.
Gotcha. And I think some dealers might charge a fee if you're returning a lease but not leasing a brand new car with them again. Is that right?
That's a great point. Yes. Read that lease contract, because you are locked into it no matter what happens. And a lot of manufacturers more recently have started doing that, where if you return the lease and you don't lease another car or buy another car, there's a $750 charge that comes with it.
Wow.
I don't
That's on
like
top
it.
of any possible repairs on top of that you might incur.
Correct.
Got it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Or, or the 20 cents a mile if you went over your miles because your situation changed,
Right.
So, when returning a lease, definitely things to keep in mind, get that inspection done early. This way, if there's anything that you didn't think you were going to have to pay for that they tell you will, then you can shop it around and see if you can get it fixed for a lower rate than it's going to cost you through them.
Gotcha. And I have one more question. Very thankful for you taking. I know I kept you longer than initially scheduled time, so I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. So let's say you bought your car, you got your warranties, you're very happy with it. I know some cars, especially the new ones, come with the first year or two worth of scheduled maintenance included. But let's say once that runs out, or if it doesn't include, if you didn't get that kind of deal, most people have this negative connotation that it's more expensive to maintain a car at a dealership. So what are your thoughts on that? Should you, let's say, or when should you consider using the dealer versus your own mechanic, for example, when maintaining that new vehicle?
Well, that's a great question. It's got a lot of different answers to it. So I may get a little long in the tooth here. If so, excuse me, just interrupt me and
No, it's all
tell me
good.
that's enough. But, just like leasing and as opposed to buying, there are benefits to both. Personally, I prefer the dealer for the insurance that comes with it. Most dealerships, and again, there are exceptions to every rule in favor of the local guy, in favor of the dealership, against the dealership, against the local guy. But most dealerships will guarantee their work. When you go to the dealership, you can be assured that you're getting OEM parts. You're going to get the parts that came with the vehicle, as opposed to, let's just say you go in, you've got a clunk in the rear, your car's got 120,000 miles on it, and you go to the dealership. Hey, yeah, you need new rear shocks. They're leaking. That's the cause of your clunk. Well, the same shocks that lasted you 120,000 miles are going to go in your car. So you go in there with the mindset that, all right, I won't have to worry about shocks again until 240.
Right. These are original manufacturer parts.
Oh yeah, yes. Oh yeah.
Gotcha.
I always think people know the car lingo. Original manufacturer equipment. So I would expect that they're going to last me 120,000 miles again. In favor of going to one of these local technicians, local mechanics, you can request that they use original equipment parts. So that's one way of, kind of meeting in the middle. You want to pay this guy's labor rate. He's done well for you on all your cars. You've been dealing with him for, 10 years. All right, great. Hey, you know what, Bob? Do me a favor. Order the parts from the dealership. I know it's going to cost me a little bit extra, but I'd rather use the original equipment parts as opposed to the aftermarket parts. These shocks lasted me 120. These struts lasted me 140. So I'd like to at least have the insurance, or at least the confidence that that's what I'm going to get out of this next set.
Gotcha. Okay.
Generally speaking, most aftermarket parts are not built as well. That's why they're a lot cheaper. To some extent, there are markups with dealerships, but the term "you get what you pay for" does exist, and it exists for a reason, because often you do. I might be able to get a set of shocks aftermarket for the car for 2/3 of the price of what the dealership's costing. But when these shocks only last me 40, 50, 60,000 miles, and I've got to do it again so much earlier and half the time, I didn't save any money by doing the shocks, because now I'm going to do it twice by the time I get to 240,000 miles, where if I just went to the dealership, I'm doing it once. Now it actually ended up costing me more money in the long run to save a little bit of money up front.
Gotcha.
If I diagnose your car, I tell you, you need a shock to fix it. I put in a shock, you come pick up your car, you call me up later that day. Eddie, I've got the same noise coming from the rear of my vehicle. Please, Lewis, come on back down now. Hey, I'm embarrassed for starters that you're coming back in, but I'm going to tell you, here, take this loaner car. I'll call you in a little while once I know what's going on. I get in there. Let's say I find out it's an N-Link, something that's less expensive than a shock. I'm going to call you up. I'm going to let you know what the price of replacing this N-Link would be. Let's say you paid me $500 for the shock. The N-Link's $200. Say, Lewis, this would cost you $200. If you'd like me to do it, I'll obviously get that taken care of, and I'll give you a refund for the additional $300 that you paid for that shock that you clearly did not need. In my experience dealing with the local guys, because growing up, my parents never went to the dealership. They literally couldn't afford it. They were in a position where they'd do their shocks 5 times, over the course of time, because, they just didn't have the ability to come up with that 500 when it could be, 350 at that time.
Gotcha.
But when they called them up and said, hey, I'm having the same problem. All right, let's schedule the appointment. They come back down. All right, well, we'll look into it. We'll give you a call. And, it was never something that they messed up. It was always something additional that needed to be done, an additional bill, and additional costs. So in a lot of cases, I've also had people come into my dealership after they went to a local guy, or they went to one of these chain stores, which I don't want to name any names.
No, of course.
But they go there, they spend, let's say it took them 3 hours to diagnose the car. Now their labor rate's $75. 3 hours to diagnose it costs $225. You come to me, my labor rate's $130, but I figured it out in 1 hour.
Right.
Sure, my labor rate is $55 more an hour, but it took me 1 hour where it took them 3. You've already spent more money just on the diagnostic process.
Wow.
Let alone and the last thing, when it comes to a lot of these chains, and again, I don't want to mention any in particular, but I can tell you from personal experience, if I go, 18-year-old, 19-year-old goes in there, he doesn't have any experience, but he wants a job, interviews well, looks good. He's going to go watch some videos, and by the end of that day, he's going to be changing the oil, rotating the tires on your car.
Gotcha.
At the dealerships, there is hours and hours and hours of training that gets that takes place. And it's not a training that stops. It's a continual training. Now, I'm not going to tell you none of these local guys have enough training. I'm not going to tell you that none of these chain mechanic shops that exist don't have proper training for your car. But a lot of time they don't. And what training they do have is minimal. When you go to the dealership, you know you're going to have your vehicle worked on by somebody who knows your vehicle inside and out. Somebody
Right.
who didn't spend 4 hours training, who spent hundreds of hours training. And, these are all things that I consider. And again, with time being money, when I go to the dealership, I might pay a little bit more upfront, but like I said, I've got the insurance that I know that they're going to do right by me, and if they do something wrong, that they're going to take care of it. They don't want these reviews online now. It's such a big thing. People go to Yelp, DealerRate, or Google to see what these dealerships do, and there's a lot of big things that come along with that.
Yeah, that's true. Peace of mind. There's a lot to say for peace of mind. And speaking of reviews, now that you mentioned, I'll leave you with this last question.
Mhm.
So you mentioned like Yelp and stuff. So let's say, just touching on car safety. I know my wife that's one of the things I never thought about ever when I was buying a car. I don't know, call me stupid. It just never crossed my mind to think about the safety ratings of a vehicle, which is insane. I was more concerned with like the size of the engine and all this other stuff. So are there any resources out there, like if somebody is concerned, like they want to see like the safety rating for the side impact, the rollover rates on the SUV, that they can perhaps visit and maybe just check out? Because that's something that should be factored in to someone making a decision as well, right?
Absolutely. And just like you said, it seems to be age specific. When I was younger, my concern was what the car looked like and how fast it would go. As I get older, you're right. You've got people you love, you care about, you've got your family, you want to make sure that they're safe. So, but any car that you're going for, just going onto the dealership website, or let's just say you're interested in Acura, go to Acura.com. They will list all their, the safety ratings on there. So it's very easy to come across that information. Absolutely.
Okay.
And
And then
it is
these safety
important
ratings,
information.
they usually come from where, like a government agency, like the National Highway Safety.
National Highway Traffic Safety, correct.
Gotcha.
You got it. They don't let the manufacturers give their own five-star rating
They
for the
can't
side
rate
impact.
themselves, huh?
No, correct. You got it.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Well, that makes a lot of sense. Well, I think, I've definitely kept you longer than we agreed upon. So thank you so much for your kind time and all the knowledge you dropped here. I certainly learned a lot. I hope you guys enjoyed yourself as well. If you have any questions, as always, just send me an email, luis@onmywaytowealth.com. Just a quick disclaimer: Eddie Egan, Retirement Wealth Advisors, and Build a Better Financial Future are not affiliated. This was content that is just for educational purposes only. Always do your research before you get into a purchase. All right, well, thank you very much, and we'll see you in episode 2.
Thank you for listening to On My Way to Wealth. If you have any questions, we'd love to hear from you. Send Luis an email at luis@onmywaytowealth.com. To read the show notes and the blog, please visit www.onmywaytowealth.com. Luis Rosa is an investment advisor representative of Retirement Wealth Advisors, Inc., an SEC-registered investment advisor. Build a Better Financial Future and Retirement Wealth Advisors are not affiliated. Exposure to ideas and financial vehicles discussed should not be considered investment advice or recommendation to buy or sell any financial vehicle. This information should not be considered tax or legal advice. Individuals should consult with the professionals specializing in the fields of tax, legal, accounting, or investments regarding the applicability of this information for their situation. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Investments will fluctuate and when redeemed may be worth more or less than when originally invested.